Hi Year 11. We're going to look at Kamikaze today by Beatrice Garland. Kamikaze pilots were specially trained Japanese pilots who were used towards the end of World War II. They flew their planes on suicide missions into enemy ships. They were heroes. They died for the cause. The poem opens with a kamikaze pilot setting off on his mission. The first 5 stanzas are all talking about that mission. It was a great honour to serve your country in this way, and throughout the poem we learn of the effects of a pilot that chose not to carry out this mission. In this narrative poem, Garland explores the testimony of the daughter of a kamikaze pilot. And unlike many of his comrades, this pilot turns back from his target and returns home. The poem vividly explores the moment that the pilot's decision is made and sketches out the consequences for him over the rest of his life. The daughter's quite emotional in talking about the effects that this decision had on her and her family. The first quotation from the opening stanza, full of powerful incantations. This suggests that the pilot was under a kind of spell which hints at the influence of the patriotic propaganda that kamikazes were exposed to. They were told that it was a great honour to die for their country. Patriotism is one of the main attitudes expressed throughout the poem. And there's lots of suggestions of patriotic pride and duty. If we look down into the second stanza at the little fishing boats strung out like bunting, it's quite ironic that the pilot should have been aiming for big enemy ships, but it's little fishing boats that catch his eye. Again, it's a link to nature, and it's sort of one of the reasons why he doesn't carry out his mission. Strung out like bunting, this simile is homely and pretty, a far cry from war. Bunting's associated with celebrations, which makes the image ironic. There's no victorious return for this pilot. He's not coming back to a hero's welcome. Another important quotation, I feel, is in the 5th stanza, yes, grandfather's boat, safe. This is probably one of the first interjections of direct speech. It sounds like the pilot's daughter is answering a question from her children, making her think about the effects in a little bit more detail. We see that in this stanza we've got the first full stop after dangerous. So the first 5 stanzas form one sentence, which covers an account of the pilot's flight as the pilot's daughter imagines it. The end of the sentence represents the plane landing, which then links into the final 2 stanzas, which deal with the fallout of the pilot's actions. Shame, then, is also an attitude and a feeling that's presented in the poem. The reaction of the pilot's wife is one of deep shame. She never speaks to him again. Regret, the pilot's daughter's words in the final stanzas are tinged with a sense of regret and loss. She lost her father. He was not the same person he was following this mission. The repetition in lines 9 and 41 of he must have also hints at her empathy with the pilot. The final line, which had been the better way to die, is a short sentence, and it's sort of a comment on the destructiveness of patriotism. The pilot's family are so ashamed that they treat him as if he's dead. He may have wished that he'd fulfilled his mission. Either way, his story ends in a kind of death.